gentlemen, welcome back to Tech Showdown. My name is Kevin. This is my co-host Teddy, and today we're checking out the TT eSports Poseidon Z RGB mechanical gaming keyboard. Now, any seasoned viewers of Tech Showdown might be going, didn't you already review the Poseidon Z a little while ago? And yeah, I did, about 9 or 10 months ago. I did review this guy. However, with the RGB model coming out, and also some hearing back from the industry that quite a few people really like this guy, I thought I'd give it another go and see if there were any changes with it, or if it felt any different to me to the last one I tested. So let's first talk about the design. So it's the same as the normal Poseidon. It has this sort of plastic fantastic finish and look to it. It's pretty basic, pretty bland. However, it's nice and color neutral, which I like. It's quite a simple design, and it seems really well built for the most part. Like, just holding it now, there's not much flex in it or anything like that. It feels quite nice. So yeah, I think it's going to be pretty sturdy for the most part. It also has cable routing round on the back, which I always like to see. And I mean, it's something that they've been doing for a little while now, but it can be quite handy. And it's got nice stands. It sits really well on your desk and that too. Doesn't move around. And so yeah, I quite like it in terms of its design, for the fact that this is RGB and is very color neutral. And it's a bit more on the basic side, but hey, it's still well built. Now, keys. So this is where I had the biggest problem with the Poseidon Z last time. So this isn't using Cherry MX key switches. This is using the Kale Blue switch, which is a Chinese copy of the Cherry MX Blue. Now, they do feel somewhat similar to a Cherry MX Blue switch, but they still feel looser. Now, I said this in my original review, and a lot of people were kind of like, about it, but it's still true. They just feel like the tolerances aren't there, like they're not as refined as the Cherry MX Blue. And I really tried, guys, this time. I've been using this for like 2 weeks, and I really tried to get used to it and really think about it. And yeah, it just feels looser, cheaper, and it has a real springiness to it when you're releasing the key. It just seems like it kind of, it sounds cartoonish, but like it goes boing. It's kind of like that. It just doesn't feel anywhere near as refined. However, the problems I had with the keycaps, these are ABS keycaps, that I did last time when trying to push them down, and sometimes you have to really push them straight down. If you're pushing them on an angle, they would kind of get, jammed slightly against the key next to them. That's completely gone. I didn't notice that at all this time. And the layout is just fine, pretty standard stuff. You have media keys up on the F keys. You got some other fun stuff on the top right here. You got like a Windows lock key and also in key rollover. So that's quite cool. So the layout is just fine. You're probably not going to be able to use custom keycaps with this, because some of the keys are a little bit on the smaller side of things from the standard. But yeah, it should be just fine for layout. Now, as far as testing it went, I used this, as I was saying, I've been using it for 2 weeks. Then I went and did a typing test on it, see how fast I could type. And I was averaging 72 to 74 words per minute, and I did multiple tests. Then I got my Razer Black Widow, which is my personal keyboard, and I did the test right after. Now you might say, well, that's a bit unfair because you're used to your personal keyboard. Well, I can tell you, I was used to this by now, and I hadn't even used my personal keyboard for 2 weeks. So I put that on the desk, and I did the tests again, different ones with obviously new things on it, and I got between 81 and 86 words per minute. So take that for what you will, but honestly, it felt a lot better typing on my Cherry MX keyboard, even just jumping straight from this guy to it. And they sound a lot better as well, the Cherry MX keys. They just sound better. There's definitely a different sound there to them. So yeah, still disappointed with the Kale Blues. They will get you by though. If you've never had a mechanical keyboard as well, then you could probably use it just fine, and you probably wouldn't notice any difference. So yeah, just take it for what you will. Now, lighting wise, so it does pull back quite well with the lighting. I really like the RGB lighting on this. It's not as bright as others on the market, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because some of them are just way too bright and they like reflect off your screen or anything like that, and really distracting at nighttime. The color reproduction looks fantastic. As you can see, it looks very nice here, and I quite like it. And you can customize each key individually. Now, it comes with a few lighting modes, not as many as some of the other companies, but still a decent amount. So there is pulse mode, spectrum circling, which should be spectrum cycling, but maybe they screwed up or maybe they meant that, but whatever. Reactive mode, arrow flow, wave mode, and ripple mode. So yeah, quite nice in terms of lighting. It really comes back with that, and considering the price this is coming in at is probably one of the cheapest, if not the cheapest, RGB gaming keyboards out there, it really pulls back hard there. So if you are someone that really likes a nice lighting on a keyboard, but you don't have enough money to fork out for some of these other ones, and you don't really care that much about the Switch, then this might be something you want to take an interest to. Now, as far as other features go, the software is terrible. There's no other way around it. Honestly, it's probably the worst software I've ever used. It sort of seems like they got a bunch of kids in a computer class to make it by the way it looks. It is super slow. Oh my goodness, it's so slow. It's super buggy. It's not very easy to use. And eSports, please, please fix this. It is terrible. I always thought Corsair's software was the worst because it was so complicated. But this is just, oh, goodness gracious. It's terrible. However, once you get things sorted, then you can pretty much pay no attention to it. So that's good. So just, deal with the pain, get the lighting set up like how I have it, for example, in this nice rainbow, and then just leave it and never go into it again because it's horrible. Which brings us now to the conclusion, and what do I make then of the Poseidon Z RGB? Is it better than the original Poseidon Z I reviewed a little while back? Yeah, it's better because of the RGB lighting. However, I still think the keys are not that good. The Kale switch, none of the Kale switches I've tried have been as good as their Cherry MX counterparts, or even that close, if I'm perfectly honest. These Kale Blues will get you by. They're definitely better than a membrane keyboard. However, you'd still really want a Cherry MX switch if you're, someone that really cares about typing speed and having really nice performance out of the gaming keyboard. However, the lighting is really good. So as I said, my main way to sum this up is, do you really like RGB lighting? Is that your main reason for buying the gaming keyboard? If it is, then yeah, sure, go with this guy. The RGB lighting looks really good on it, and it's coming in at a much cheaper price than many other RGB keyboards. In fact, I think pretty much all of them in New Zealand. It is the cheapest RGB keyboard. However, if you're someone that cares about typing speed and the performance of the keyboard, then I would still say stay away. The Kale Blues just do not come close to the Cherry MX Blue. In my opinion, they feel looser, they're not as well refined, they're obviously cheaper, and they're not as well tested as the Cherry MX Blues. However, the one thing I will give for them is that this is coming with a 5-year warranty on those Kale Blue switches, which is quite good. I'm not thinking that's because they're going to last for ages. I think it's probably because they mass produce them so much that they can just get away with, these if some of them break and they're so cheap to replace. However, I have heard that actually claiming the warranty can be a little bit difficult on these guys, so maybe take that with a grain of salt. And that's how I'm going to sum up this guy. So kind of a yes and no recommendation depending on what type of user you are. Now, I thank you all for watching this video. Please subscribe to Tech Showdown if you haven't already, and like the video. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.